She'll take a deep breath and let the day slowly melt away. You're safe now. Here in this quiet space, let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw, loosen your hands, and allow yourself just for a little while to drift. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Once more, breathe in calm, cool air, and exhale the weight of the day. That's it! The room around you grows quieter. You hear the gentle crackle of a hearth fire in the distance, the subtle brush of wind against old window, and the hush of pages turning somewhere beyond. Let your imagination begin to stir now, gently, as we step softly together into another time, a time of forgotten crafts and whispered knowledge. Our story tonight begins in a crooked little village nestled beneath the boughs of an ancient forest. Fog clings to its mossy rooftops, and ivy creeps along the cobbled paths. There is one shop tucked between the baker's hearth and the blacksmith's forge that most people pass in silence, not from fear but reverence. Its sing creaks gently overhead, painted with a faded symbol of a feather and a mortar bowl. A bell jingles softly above the door, and a breath of rose hips, sage, and old paper welcomes you in. Inside, time seems to move slower. The air is warm, laced with the scent of dried petals and tinctures steeping on high shelves. Glass jars glisten in the flicker of lantern light, each one filled with curiosity's twists of bark, amber drops of resin, silver sprigs of lavender, and sprinkles of crushed starch. At the far end of the room, behind a polished oak counter, sits the apothecary, a woman with silver-threaded hair tucked into a soft braid and fingers stained faintly with crushed berries and ink. She dips a quill along. Strike peacock feather into a tiny ink, and the tip glides across the page of a leather-bound book. She writes in silence, as though each word is a spell. A whisper of healing meant for the parchment alone. The apothecary believes, as her ancestors did, that the quills of peacock's birds, once considered sacred, sharpen the memory and seal thoughts into the mind with more certainty than ink ever could. You watch as she turns a page. The parchment crackles gently under her hand. She pauses, reaches for a nearby jar of dried marigold petals, crushes a few between her fingers, and adds them into a stone mortar with a pinch of ground valerian root. The pestle turns in slow, rhythmic circles. She the sound barely audible, but deeply soothing. Tonight, she prepares a sleep draught, not for herself, but for a weary traveler expected before moonrise. She whispers softly to the herbs, not words exactly, but hums and lilting breaths, the kind passed down through generations when remedies were sung, not spoken. The shop walls are thick, made of stone and wood, and candles flicker in sconces of iron vine. Outside, the wind brushes against the shutters, but inside it is warm and calm and ever so quiet. You feel yourself rocking slightly, as if in a boat anchored gently to the shore, cradled by the scent of lemon balm and the hush of turning pages. The apothecary lifts her gaze eyes the color of cool river stone and smiles faintly to herself. She pulls a slender drawer from the writing desk, revealing a bundle of tiny scrolls bound in ribbon. Each one a cure, a dream, a secret someone once trusted her to hold. She takes one faded violet parchment tan, lays it beside a book. Then, with graceful care, she uncorks a small vial of ink made from elderberries and dips the quill again. She writes, "For the sleeper who walks between dreams, a whisper of moonflower, 3 drops of mist, and the feather of a lark born at dusk." Of course, feather is metaphor. So many things are in the world of the apothecary. She tucks the new scroll away and ties a ribbon of blue flax around it. It will be ready by the time the traveler arrives. Near the hearth, a kettle hums. Steam curls through the air like forgotten lullaby. And beside it, a small wooden box is filled with sprigs of thyme, bark from the dreaming tree, and tiny stones kissed by river foam. She brews 2 cups, one for the traveler and one for herself. As the blend steeps, she returns to her book, the quill still gently dancing across the page, guided not just by hand, but by memory. For this apothecary does not only heal, she heals thoughts, dreams, and memories. She believes every illness begins first in the mind's quiet corridors. And so, her remedies begin with ink. And as you watch her work, as the warmth of the room presses gently around you, and the lantern light flickers like starlight in glass jars, you begin to feel her calm settle over you, too. The flick of the quill, the hush of the mortar, the soft breathing of a room that remembers every word ever written in it, all of it wraps around you now. Like a quilt made from dried petals and humming wind, tucked in gently by invisible hands. The apothecary closes her book for the evening, rests the quill in a silver stand, and exhales a slow, deliberate breath. The kind of breath that says, the work is done for now. And as the fire dims in the hearth and shadows lengthen across the old wooden floor, you feel yourself surrendering to stillness, to peace, to sleep. Somewhere beyond the wooden walls of the shop, the village sleeps. The baker's oven is long gone quiet, the last loaf wrapped in linen, cooling near the coals. The blacksmith's fire is nothing but faint ember now, and even the candle in the bell tower flickers its last golden sun. But within the apothecary's chamber, time holds steady, wrapped in the scent of crushed violet and chamomile ash. She moves slowly to the window, pushing it open just enough for the midnight breeze to wander in. It smells of cedar and damp moss, and carries with it the whisper of owls and slow-winged things. The wind lifts the peacock feather quill just slightly, as if remembering old spells taught beneath moonlight by ancestors long past. Some say feathers hold memories. Others say they carry messages. Soft scripts written on air and meant only for those who truly listen. The apothecary listens. She always has. As a child, she would sit by the riverbank, placing petals into bottles, pretending they were cures. Now, with jars and scrolls surrounding her, the game has become devotion. She returns to her desk, draws the candle nearer, and opens a tiny box carved with stars. Inside lies a folded letter creased at the edges, its ink faded and blushed with time. She reads silently, lips barely moving. It is from her teacher, a letter she's read 100 times. But each time, she finds something new between the lines. It says, greater than to heal is not to fix. It is to listen, to witness pain, and offer a place soft enough for rest. She folds it again, hands trembling slightly. Not from sadness, but reverence. The flame dances beside her, casting flickering halos along the glass jars. You can almost see the shadows of the herbs sway, as if remembering the hands that harvested them, and the whispered promises spoken as they were hung to dry. A small wooden clock ticked near the hearth. Not loudly, just enough to remind the body it still has rhythm. Tick-tock, hush, tick-tock, breathe. The traveler has not arrived. Perhaps they will not. But the apothecary waits, as she always does, knowing that healing often happens quietly in spaces no one sees. She lifts a teacup, the porcelain warm against her palm, and drinks slowly, eyes closing as the flavor unfolds. Linden, oat straw, a whisper of lemon balm. The same blend you now imagine warming your own hands, soothing your own breath. Let its imagined steam wash over your thoughts. Let it settle you like soft snow on a sleeping field. The apothecary sets the cup down and blows gently on the candle's flame. It flickers, then vanishes, leaving behind only the glow of embers in the hearth. The room dims, but does not darken. A gentle light lingers, as though memory itself has taken form, and cradles the shelves, the jars, the desk, the feather still resting in its stand. She moves to a chair tucked near the fireplace, wraps herself in a woven shawl of ash, an herb-stained wool, and sighs. The sigh of a healer whose hands have worked enough for one night. The sigh of one who trusts that healing continues even in sleep. You sit across from her now in your mind's eye, or perhaps in some dreams, dreaming of a dream, and you feel the quiet around you. Settle deeper through your chest, into your belly, down to the soles of your feet. You belong here, in this place of quiet work and forgotten magic. Let yourself rest here among the vials and feathers, the letters and petals, the wisdom of those who once healed with only ink and leaf and time. Outside, the wind sings low, a lullaby for moss and stone, and inside, the apothecary's breath slows, as does yours. For here in this ancient place, there is no rush, no urgency, only the rhythm of page and feather, the hush of wisdom shared softly, and the knowledge that dreams too can heed. So, close your eyes if they are not closed already. Let the quiet take you. Let the warmth of the story wrap itself around your thoughts. And as you drift now deeper, let your own dreams begin to unfurl, written not with ink, but with memory and breath, on pages only you will ever read. Good night, gentle soul. Sleep and be well.